Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, the Hobart International Airport is finally living up to its name, with the first direct flight from New Zealand in 2 decades touching down. The arrivals hall was filled with emotional scenes as family and friends embraced for the first time in more than a year.
Emotions running high. Family and friends embracing at the Hobart International Airport after more than a year apart.
How are you?
The link between Tasmania and New Zealand now officially restored. The first direct flight from our island neighbours touching down this morning. Long overdue hugs welcoming this family, separated since January last year.
I've lost my dad since then, and my grandfather as well. That's the first time I've seen it.
Major life moments missed.
She's got engaged, I got married, we both missed both of our things.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
One man going all out to celebrate the occasion.
Yeah, I got the top mate especially for today. It's the first most exciting day for this thing to happen.
The Tourism Tasmania boss, one of the first passengers on the inaugural service, taking off from Auckland.
Everyone's thrilled to be here. There was a big cheer on the plane as we landed.
The historic occasion marked with a ceremony.
Could I firstly just say, welcome New Zealand.
Music bringing the 2 islands together. The first flight back departing this afternoon.
I'm just really happy that hopefully it stays around for a while and I can go there more frequently.
I lived there a decade ago for 5 years or so in Auckland. Yeah, we're super excited.
This is the first time a direct service between New Zealand and Tasmania has run in more than 20 years. Flights between Auckland and Hobart will initially operate twice a week, but that's likely to increase in the months ahead.
We are planning in the peak periods, December to April, to add a 3rd flight on a Tuesday as well. And so we'll continue to monitor that, and if the demand's there, then we'll respond to that.
These flights the first step as the state begins to look further abroad.
I think we are very well placed to leverage off this, to look at other routes and other destinations.
The next sort of markets we'd be looking at are those in Asia. You know, as we go a little bit further afield, we want to grow into our close neighbours.
But for now, today was the first of many more reunions to come. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
A 52-year-old man is in hospital tonight after allegedly being shot in Invermay overnight. Police say the man was woken by 2 men trying to break into his car. It follows a spate of gun crime in Launceston. Our reporter Josh Duggan has the details.
Police and emergency services were called here to Weaving Place at approximately 1:30 this morning. This suburban cul-de-sac the site of what authorities are calling a car burglary gone wrong. Damage to a house and parked cars, the remains of a late-night altercation.
From what we can tell so far is that perhaps the man disturbed some burglars who were attempting to break into his car, and as a result of that altercation, a firearm was discharged.
A 52-year-old man taken to hospital with pellet wounds to the chest, arms and legs. While he was put into an induced coma, police describe his condition as serious but stable. Police say witnesses treated the man while waiting for paramedics to arrive.
Be confronted with that scene at 1:30 in the morning when you've just been woken up, it must be terrifying. Ultimately, I'd like to thank them for their assistance and no doubt the victim as well.
Police are now on the lookout for 2 men who fled on foot. This is the 11th gun-related incident in Launceston in less than 2 months. A new police gun crime task force has been set up in the past week to tackle the problem.
These things tend to come in waves. There's no doubt about it. We don't have gun crime for quite a while, and then we seem to have a spate of increased incidents.
Police have said although many of the recent incidents occurred between parties who already knew each other, this was a random attack. Police are calling for anyone with information or CCTV footage in the area to come forward.
Police are also investigating a deliberately lit fire in Invermay. Following reports of a blaze, emergency services attended the Dunning Street unit around 6 a.m. The unit, which was unoccupied at the time, has been destroyed, with damage estimated at $200,000. Police say the 2 incidents are not connected. And a manhunt has been sparked on the northwest coast as police search for an offender who's possibly armed. Luke Eli Jackson first came to the attention of police after he evaded them in a ute yesterday afternoon at Rihanna. Officers say he then dumped that vehicle and may have stolen a white Holden Colorado from Costas in East Devonport last night. Both vehicles have since been recovered. Anyone who sees him is urged not to approach and to call police immediately. A woman involved but ultimately not responsible for the death of her former partner in a pedestrian crash has been sentenced to 14 months behind bars. Melissa Oates pleaded guilty to dangerous driving following an incident which claimed the life of Jari Wise.
Jari Wise's life was tragically cut short on February 29, 2020 on Wilmot Road at Huonville. Today, the complex case reached the Hobart Supreme Court, where his former partner Melissa Oates pleaded guilty to dangerous driving. Justice Gregory Geeson said the pair had left a party separately in the early hours of the morning, but Mr Wise had messaged Oates to find him. Oates, who was 3 times over the blood alcohol limit, was travelling at 110 kilometres in a 50 zone. Her car struck Mr Wise, killing him instantly. However, witness evidence described Mr Wise as previously jumping out in front of Oates' car on other occasions. At the time of the incident, Wilmot Road was pitch black. Mr Wise was also wearing dark clothing. Justice Geeson said prosecutors did not believe she was legally responsible for Mr Wise's death, a position he accepted. He said Oates' regrets weighed heavily upon her. She was sentenced to 14 months prison, with 6 months suspended and the rest backdated to her time in custody. Leaving court, Jari Wise's mother expressed anger at the sentence.
I just feel like it's an absolute kick in the face. There will be an appeal, because this is just not, it's not justice, no.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The Liberals have hit back at claims of malpractice within the salmon industry, as well as a secret government plan to build more fish farms. The Deputy Premier refused to rule out the expansion, but emphasised any move would involve lengthy consultation.
On the front foot.
Poor little fishermen like me are just going to be pushed out.
An alliance of advocates slicing open the salmon industry with a string of accusations.
It doesn't care about marine life, it doesn't care about the environment.
They take everything they can from the sea and they leave it full of antibiotics, faeces.
Coinciding with a book release self-described as an exposé of Tasmania's big salmon, criticising some commercial practices.
Fish farms have to move on land to closed-loop systems. It's the only enduring pathway.
The state's peak body for salmon growers has rejected a number of assertions in the book, but perhaps its most stunning claim, a secret government plot to expand industrial feedlots into areas like Stanley, Boat Harbour and Port Arthur.
There's opportunity across Tasmania. I mean, this is an industry that employs thousands of Tasmanians, many young Tasmanians.
When the Deputy Premier was today asked to rule it out,
well, that's a question for the Minister for Primary Industries.
The government says it has invested heavily in independent regulators. Labor too has shied away from interrupting salmon farming practices if elected.
There are areas of the Huon Valley that would not survive without the industry.
The party hauling in its heavy hitters for the campaign's crunch time.
Thanks for coming, mate. My pleasure. Yeah.
Bill Shorten taking aim at a local enemy.
Do they want a second-rate Peter Goodwin health system?
And helping pump up a $6 million disability policy, which includes the reinstation of the $1,000 taxi subsidy and an extra 60 allied health professionals.
Access to things like physiotherapists, occupational therapists and so on will be a lot easier.
Meanwhile, as the first Hobart flights touch down from across the Tasman, the Liberals believe this could become a new export destination.
Any market across the globe needs to be a key focus.
A $2.2 million plan to diversify our trade routes headlining the new policy. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's major parties are being told to pump an extra $400 million into information technology across the health system. The Australian Medical Association wants all sides of politics to back its plan to fix ageing software as well as ramping and bed block. It's also calling for a single hospital on the northwest coast, arguing it would be easier to attract staff.
We've been fighting between Burnie and Devonport or Latrobe. It's time to take the step and have one hospital.
The group is also warning drug and alcohol services are facing collapse and could be fixed by a new specialist centre. The state government has announced the AstraZeneca jab will be fast-tracked for those over 50, starting in just under a fortnight.
From the 3rd of May in state community clinics, and GP practices will come online from the 17th. This means that the 2A phase is being brought forward and anyone over age 50 will be eligible.
Additional Pfizer hubs will also be opening to keep up with demand, including at the Mersey Community Hospital next week.
From the middle of May, we'll be opening weekend Pfizer clinics in both Hobart and Launceston, in addition to our existing Pfizer clinics in our hospitals.
Almost 61,000 vaccine doses have been administered in the state so far. It's hoped a new deal will make legal access easier for Tasmania's Aboriginal community. Two key groups today signed a memorandum of understanding to work more closely and improve justice outcomes.
The MOU is looked upon as an opportunity to strengthen the relationship between the organisations.
Aboriginal people are overrepresented in the justice system, and we want to remove some of that. We're working with partners and address some of those issues.
The MOU will also be used to ensure legal services in the state are culturally responsive.
To the State League, North Hobart will host an Anzac Day commemoration before the first bounce against Launceston. Despite being the only undefeated side this season, the Blues have some notable absentees, including skipper Jake Hines, who has been rubbed out for 2 games for striking. The D's have 9 Devils players back from the NAB League, but they aren't walk-up starters.
It's not about just dumping what we've got into our side. We've got guys playing okay footy, so we're happy with them, so they'll keep playing. And there might be some chats with the Devils boys that they might not get straight back into the side. So
it's really important that we, as the current custodians of footy, get an opportunity to pay our respect visually, but also internally. We touch on it all week.
Sideline Lauderdale recruit Alan Christensen is bursting to be back on the field. A hamstring injury has him out for up to 8 weeks, so he's had to adjust to life in the coach's box.
You think, if I was out there, if I was doing that, but I've got to sort of shift my focus for, however long I'm out for to, how can I help these players to make better decisions.
Lauderdale plays North Launceston. Both sides have 1 win and 2 losses so far this season. A maiden Targa Tasmania title is within reach for Ed Maguire, the Tasmanian extending his overall lead to 2.5 minutes. The Burnie Dodge Viper driver is running hot. Ed Maguire dominating in his backyard. Today, the longest of the event, covering a 120-kilometre round trip from Strawn to the northwest. He now has a 2-minute 23-second lead with just 2 days remaining. There's movement below Maguire, with Angus Kennard of New South Wales giving his Nissan GTR a squirt, pipping fellow Nissan man Trevor McLeod for second spot in the standings. McLeod was unlucky, experiencing gearbox issues on the Murchison stage. Behind him is Tony Quinn, but he's now nearly 4 minutes off the pace. The spectacular backdrops are one of the big talking points of today's proceedings, with teams heading through pristine yet wild Tasmanian country. Some would say even better in the old cars, and John Siddons has the added benefit of shining in his 1970 Datsun 240Z. He's a whopping 5 minutes clear of Stuart McCauley in a 1985 Porsche 911, while Ashley Yeld's Volvo has vanquished all comers in the classic handicap. He's 4 minutes clear of his nearest rival. Teams travel from Strawn to Hobart tomorrow morning. Maguire very much in control of the main race. Ahead of tonight's A-League, a Tasmanian All-Star side has taken on Victorian outfit Calder United at UTAS Stadium. The visitors claim the opener through Alexandra Sinclair in the 12th minute. The final result saw Calder extend the lead to win 3-0. A state under-19 side also took to the field, Tasmania slotting through a goal in the 42nd minute.
Game, it's a chance here. Can she drive it home? It's over the line. I think it's an own goal in the end. Who cares how it gets in?
The scoreline swung dramatically from there. Calder United 5-1 winners. In tough conditions, Tasmania's John Staff and Victoria's Tom Jarman are standouts at the National Fly Fishing Championships, catching 18 fish between them on the Meander River today. A little tougher still in the lakes, with local Chris Medwin catching 3 big fish at Penstock Lagoon and Victoria's Gary Rapley landing 4 at Arthur's Lake. Tasmanian Chris Medwin had 7 on the Mersey River. Organisers say the trout are hungry as they prepare to spawn in a few months' time. All fish are released back into the water and competition resumes tomorrow.
Good evening. Launceston the top today with 18 degrees. Hobart, Burnie and Devonport all 16. St Helens and Friendly Beaches 17. Grove, Smithton and the Islands 16. Ouse 15 today. Strawn 13. The low was -2 on Mount Wellington. Cloud emanating from over the Southern Ocean passed over us today. A few showers mainly over the west. Mount Reid 13 millimetres to 3 p.m. The cold pool of air also sat over and south of the state. Some low cloud over southern parts of the mainland. High level cloud over Queensland and some patchy middle cloud over WA. Completes that picture. Tomorrow the high over the Bight extends a ridge over most of the country, maintaining the westerly airflow. A strong westerly airflow too. The west-southwesterlies quite significant tomorrow, up to 30 knots over the north and west and reaching 35 knots over southern waters. And we have 9-metre swells in the seas off the west and south. Gale warning has been issued from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point and a strong wind warning for remaining coastal waters apart from the upper east coast. Hobart tomorrow, a high of 15 and cloudy. A shower maybe for Huonville, 14 the top, cloudy for Campania and 15 degrees. 17 for Launceston, bit of cloud about. Devonport the same, 16 degrees, 15 and partly cloudy for Georgetown. Burnie partly cloudy as well and 15 degrees, 14 for Strawn, a few showers. Wynyard partly cloudy, a top there of 15. 17 for St Helens, cloudy for Swansea, 16 the top and 14 for Port Arthur, the chance of a shower. On Saturday, showers over the west, south and Bass Strait Islands, fine elsewhere with westerly winds again. Fine on Sunday apart from a shower over the west and far south. Similar weather on Monday with the southwesterly winds. Partly cloudy and 29 in Perth tomorrow. A morning shower in Adelaide, a shower or 2 in Melbourne. Sunny and 22 in Sydney. Fine for Brisbane and 35 in Darwin. Partly cloudy in Hobart, it's 14, cooling down in Launceston, 12 at the moment and 12 also in Devonport. Welcome to all the New Zealanders who have just arrived in Tasmania, just in time for the Wellington Phoenix up against Western United tonight, Kim.
Very good timing. Thank you very much, Murph.